Imagine standing beside a river in the mountains of Nepal. You look down at the sand beneath your feet, and hidden among thousands of ordinary stones, there could be tiny traces of something incredibly valuable: gold. Sounds like a movie, right? But gold has a natural connection with rocks, rivers, and geological formations, and Nepal's mountainous landscape makes the subject even more fascinating. At the end of this video, you'll understand why finding gold is much harder than simply searching for shiny rocks. To understand Nepal's gold story, first we need to understand how gold moves through nature. Gold doesn't normally appear as giant pieces sitting on the surface waiting to be picked up. Instead, it can be locked inside rocks deep underground. Over thousands or even millions of years, mountains are exposed to rain, snow, ice, wind, and flowing water. These natural forces slowly break rocks apart. When mineral-rich rocks are weathered and eroded, tiny particles can be transported downhill by streams and rivers. Gold is extremely dense compared with most ordinary minerals. That means when river currents slow down, heavier particles can settle in places where lighter sand continues moving. This is why river bends, cracks in bedrock, gravel deposits, and certain sediment layers can become interesting locations for geological investigation. But there's a huge difference between finding a tiny trace of gold and discovering enough gold to make mining economically worthwhile. And that difference is where the real story begins. Imagine standing beside a river in the mountains of Nepal. You look down at the sand beneath your feet, and hidden among thousands of ordinary stones, there could be tiny traces of something incredibly valuable: gold. Sounds like a movie, right? But gold has a natural connection with rocks, rivers, and geological formations, and Nepal's mountainous landscape makes the subject even more fascinating. The Himalayas were created by massive geological forces over millions of years. And those same geological processes helped create a landscape filled with an incredible variety of minerals. But here's the question. If gold can exist naturally in Nepal's mountains and river systems, why don't we hear about huge gold discoveries happening there every day? The answer takes us much deeper into Nepal's geology. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why finding gold is much harder than simply searching for shiny rocks.
Now, look at the Himalayas. This enormous mountain system is one of the most dramatic geological regions on Earth. The Indian tectonic plate has been pushing against the Eurasian plate for millions of years. That collision created enormous pressure, folded rocks, lifted mountains, and continuously reshaped the landscape. Nepal sits right in the middle of this incredible geological environment. Its mountains contain many different types of rocks and mineral deposits. When these rocks are uplifted and exposed, erosion constantly changes the landscape. Rivers then carry sediment from higher elevations toward lower areas, and that sediment can contain particles from the rocks upstream. This is why geologists study rocks, sediments, river systems, and mineral formations when investigating the possibility of valuable resources. But there's something important to remember. A country can have traces of gold without having enormous, commercially viable gold deposits. Finding gold is one challenge. Finding enough gold, concentrated enough, and accessible enough to mine profitably is a completely different challenge.
So, what can we actually learn from Nepal's gold story? The biggest lesson is that nature rarely gives up its treasures easily. Gold can be created through geological processes and transported through landscapes over enormous periods of time. A tiny particle that appears in a river today may have started its journey inside a rock millions of years ago. That is what makes mineral exploration so fascinating. You're not just searching for a valuable metal, you're studying the history of the Earth itself. Nepal's mountains are constantly being shaped by erosion, rivers, weather, and geological forces. And somewhere within this enormous natural system, mineral traces can exist in places that scientists are still studying. But remember, seeing gold in a river does not mean there is a massive gold mine nearby. Real discoveries require evidence, scientific investigation, and careful economic analysis. So the next time you see the mountains of Nepal, remember this: they aren't just beautiful landscapes. They are part of a geological story that has been unfolding for millions of years. And some chapters of that story may still be waiting to be discovered.